All right, so the first thing I thought we'd tackle for the track is the vocals. Now, the vocals are like the least production intensive part of the track, but the reason why I want to start with it first is because that's how I started the track. I did not make the beat and send it to Marley. Rather, she sent me an acapella, and I created the track around it, which is kind of backwards, not always the normal way things get done. So I figured we would keep the natural order of operations and dive into the vocals first, since it was the genesis of the track. So this is it. This is the acapella right here. Now you may notice there are some chops going on. Now the reason why those are there are for a few reasons. One, I chopped the vocal around and rearranged it and made it into new parts. So that's the first reason why. Second reason why is for vocal chops. Third one is to take away breaths and things that I didn't want in the vocals. So I'll let you hear very quickly just a little snippet. I'm looking for cinema. Now, there's not much going on the chain here. It came in pretty clean from Marley. So what I have going on is I boosted it with utility up 7.5 dBs. I have my vocal chain on it. The auto tune is turned off. Did not need it. Reverb up a little bit on the decay, not much on the dry and wet, and then rolled off some of the low end. There's also a little bit of EQ here. You can see it. I don't have to explain it. But again, just getting rid of some of those parts and the frequencies that I didn't want. Again, a tiny little boost, I guess, on the final mix. I wanted to boost it up a little bit, and then a de-esser just to keep things clean. Not much to talk about here, other than it was dragged and dropped in. I warped it to Complex Pro with the formants all the way down and the envelope in the middle. And the reason why I did that is because I believe that the OG came in 10 BPMs lower than what it is now. And I wanted it to be faster. So I find that this iteration of Complex Pro is the cleanest for warping things and keeping them, sounding natural. The one thing we can dive into is the vocal glitch that happens in verse 1. Now, I'll let you hear it before I explain it. So this is a really important part to me. When I listen to vocals, I like when things that are unexpected happen. So I thought to myself, this is probably a good moment for the listener to get hit with something out of left field, where they're like, wait, what was that? What did I just hear? The way I achieved it was, all I did was take the original acapella. This is all, if I drag this out, this would all be the same thing. And I just went, bloop, right there, right there, right there, and just made those little chops. And what that does is it gives it a rhythmic component. It changes the original to something new and exciting. And if you look here, this is up 7 steps, and that gives it the, again, another, instead of it being a rhythmic change, a pitch change. And you can do this with any audio file for anything. It doesn't have to be a vocal. It can be a melody. It can be you playing the keys and doing it. If you just go through and follow the bars and just do every other like this, go by 4th, 16th, 18th, or sorry, 4th, 8th, or 16th notes, it really gives you a cool rhythmic change. So you can just make those little chops, and it's cool. The only other thing that I want to touch on are the blops and the tosses. Now the blops here in the intro, so if you look, this is actually called Serato Sample. Now the reason why it is called that is because I dragged the original acapella into my personal favorite sampler, Serato Sample, and made a little vocal chop out of it, and then drenched it in a lot of reverb and heavy delay. Now, the reason why I did this is because I find it very important to create atmospheres in my music. And having a vocal turn into a synth pad, to me, always kind of sets a certain mood, a mood that I really like. And I also find it important to use things that you already have present to your best ability. So instead of trying to add a bunch of synths, I thought to myself, what can I manipulate? What's already familiar in the track that I can reimagine and kind of use again? And it helps keep things cohesive as you move through the track. So blops happen here and there. And then you have tosses here. So tosses are just natural delays. That's what I call them. The reason why I do them handmade like this is because I believe that you get more control doing it that way rather than letting a plugin decide. So all I did is you can actually see the chop here. This file here and this file, these two little bits are the exact same thing. The only difference is this is turned down by -25. So if you take the last little part of the vocal and plop it down after, gives you a nice delay effect. You can tell if I quickly scroll through these two, you can see how that EQ changes at the bottom right. And you can see that there's a little bit more of the low end rolled off here. Just helps keep it a little bit different than what we heard already. And if you also look here, this one's -25. This final one is -40. And it's slowly going from -25 to 40 here. That just gives it a nice roll off and keeps it sounding dynamic. So that's really all I wanted to touch on the vocals. It was the genesis for the track, so I figured we should start with it first. But yeah, I think we should move on to the arrangement of the track and think bigger picture now.